Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from KeyboardImprov.com, and welcome to my journey through the real book, number 93, to inspire you to go through this book yourself. Not necessarily in order if you don't want, but to dive in and check out the tunes, challenge yourself, learn things you don't normally learn. This was by John Lewis, great jazz pianist. I've been fascinated with John Lewis for a long time. And I just was reading an interview with Keith Jarrett, done by Ethan Iverson, who Keith Jarrett mentions John Lewis as one of the people he loves listening to, modern jazz quartet. And I think John Lewis does not play licks, and I think Keith Jarrett was always drawn to pianists and saxophonists, for instance, who didn't play licks. They didn't necessarily play on every tune like a lot of people do. John Lewis, he's mentioned Thelonious Monk, Errol Garner, saxophonist Sonny Rollins, Ornette Coleman. Those are influences on Jarrett, and John Lewis is certainly in there. I'm fascinated with John Lewis because he was from the swing era, and then he came up through bebop when that started. He was a favorite pianist among the beboppers, recorded with Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, formed Dizzy Gillespie, and then formed the Modern Jazz Quartet out of that experience. But he wasn't really a bebop pianist, and his playing would often contain rhythms that were more associated with the swing era, simpler melodies. He could play bebop, but not all the time, and it was interesting to see him adapt to these different playing situations he was in. I also got to know him sort of peripherally. Led the band at his son's wedding in Central Park, and I spoke to him a few times. After concerts, I'd go back, and especially when I was younger, I was very bold. I'd go up to a famous jazz musician after a concert and ask him a question, So I said to John Lewis, I said, I can't reconcile the fact that the Modern Jazz Quartet started out as the rhythm section in Dizzy Gillespie's big band, but his big band was so big and brassy, and the Modern Jazz Quartet was so restrained and sort of neoclassical and quiet. And he said they're both riff-oriented. They played little riffs, That's where they came out of, which is swing era, not bebop. It's interesting. All right, Django. I'm going to, it's a beautiful ballad dedicated in some way to the gypsy Belgian jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt. And John Lewis came back to this tune so many times over the years, so check out his versions. To me, I don't know, you don't want to define something and put it in a little box. I don't know if it's a tribute, I don't know if it's a lament, but it's got this slow, sort of Chopin-esque, classical feel in terms of the harmonies, at least the way John Lewis would play it. I'm going to start off, though, with something very different, just because I had a dream once. I had a dream that John Lewis sat down at the piano and played something. And I'm going to play pretty much what that dream was to start. And then it'll lead into the tune somehow. every time you play a tune like this, it's a journey. I guess really every tune, but something like this is this is great. It's profound. It's very simple, very motivic. This repeated rhythm, this da dee da dee da da, that just comes back and back and back. But there's a lot here. The chords, just the wonderful chord progression, not overly complex. It starts out with 1 4 5 1. Bold to be that simple, but somehow you create a whole universe there, and that's what John Lewis has done. And he invites us to go into that universe and then explore it. That's how I look at a lot of these tunes. Have fun with this. Have fun with all the other tunes you're playing. Explore new tunes. Let me know if you want help through either Skype lessons, or you can check out my video course, keyboardimprov.com. Got hundreds of lessons, jazz ballads included. And what I like to do is not just teach you what to play, but teach you the understanding behind it. That's really how I feel that most of us don't get that, really. And a lot of great musicians, John Lewis and my own piano teacher, Billy Taylor, gave that to me, and I'm trying to pass it on to you here. So thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.